Hello everyone, welcome back to the Power BI projects tutorials. This tutorial is for the Olympics dataset analysis. So in the introduction video, I have already told you about the dataset, a brief introduction about the dataset. The dataset that we have is of the Olympics games and it is a historical data. That means it has a 120 years of data. So it is a very good dataset. And we would be analyzing it. Okay, so our main goal is to analyze the data set, try to find out the relation between the various constraints or the various columns that are present in the data set and try to find any kind of relationship between them, and in the end prepare a report that highlights all the basic features or the basic analysis that we have done. We will be doing it all with the help of Power BI. So let's get started. Now what I have done is I have already downloaded the dataset in the form of the Excel sheet, and then I have imported it into Power BI because that's a really simple process. All you've got to do is once you open your Power BI, you need to select this option, that is import data from Excel, and select your Excel file. Once you have done that, you will see this kind of a option or this kind of a preview. So what this means? This means that there are two tables in our dataset. Let's take a look at them. The first table is the country definitions table, which has got three columns in it, that is the NOC, the region and the notes. Now just notice one small thing over here is that the name of the column is NOC, region and notes, but still Power BI has not recognized this and is taking column 1, 2 and 3 as the column names. So we would be fixing that just a few seconds later. But before that, let's take a look at our main table, that is the athlete events table. We have got a humongous amount of data in this particular table, but Power BI only loads the preview for us, so we are getting just the preview of this whole data set. And we have got name, that is the name of the athlete, their gender, their age, their physical characteristics like height and weight, the team for which they participated. NOC here stands for name of country, and that has been taken for the three letters from the country name, like CHN for China, DEN for Denmark, NED for Netherlands, USA for USA, and so on. So this is what we are going to fix, because we are not going to go with these first three letters. And if you see this country definitions table, then we have got this exact column and the actual country names. So what we would be doing is using this particular column in our athlete events table. So that's a very simple process that we would be doing, just it would require a few additional steps in the Power Query editor. Okay, now after this we have various other columns as well which would be used. Some of these columns we don't need them at all, so we would be removing those columns. First of all, what we are going to do is just select these two things and click on transform data. Now when we click on transform data, then something called a Power Query editor will open in front of us. The Power Query editor provides us with numerous features through which we can transform the data set. Like we can remove inconsistencies, we can remove the unnecessary data which we don't need, and apply the changes as per our wishes. So few of the changes we have already discussed in the preview section. Let's see what all we can do with it. So the first is this country definitions table that we have got opened. The first thing that we are going to do is, okay, the column headers are already present as NOC, region and notes. Then we don't need column 1, 2 and 3, right? So what I'm going to do is press Control A or just manually select these three columns. If you want to select multiple columns, press Control and then click on that particular column, right? Then what you can do is you can go to transform, and here is this option of use first row as headers. You can just select this option, and as you can see, NOC is not NOC, region and notes have been changed as the country names. Now the thing is that there is one thing that we don't need this notes column, because the main purpose of this table for us is just to get this region column into our main table, that is the athlete events table. So we can remove this column. How do we remove that? We just select this particular column that we want to remove, go to the home tab. Here is this option of remove columns, and you can just remove that particular column. Now let me just rename this particular column header from region to country, because that is the exact name that we are looking for. Why we have done this change, we will see when we are working with visualizations in the Power BI desktop, because this is a really important step. You have to be careful on what names you are giving to your column headers, right? Now, the column that I removed is just removed from this Power Query editor. It is not doing any changes into our original data source, so be assured with that. Now we have this athlete events table. Let's just remove the few unnecessary columns here as well, like the ID column we don't need. We don't need the height and the weight column. The reason why we are not needing it is because, as you can see, all the height and weight data is not available. Plus there are some inconsistencies as well in this data. So what we are going to do is we are going to remove this data because it is not that important. Then I'm also going to remove this team data because we would be focusing on the countries parameter, not on the team parameter. Then let's just see. Here we have this column called the games column, which is a combination of the year and the type of the games, because there are two types of Olympics, the summer and the winter Olympics. So this is a important data. But the thing is that we have got two other columns, the year column and the season column, which have exactly that data, like the year and the season. So this is a redundant data. That's why we can just remove this games column. Okay, next what we have is the city, that is where these Olympic games were held in that particular year. Like you remember 2012 were held in London. So that is actually not needed because the city where the Olympics were held had no effect on the medals or on the country's winning percentage. So let's just remove this. And what we are going to do is remove these events column as well. We would be only working with this sports column. So now I have selected all the columns that I want to remove, and I can just simply click on this remove columns option and all the unnecessary data will be removed. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is just change this column name to gender for a better understanding. And there is one more thing that I need to do, and that is the merging of the tables. So let's see how the merging works. Okay, but before merging the tables, there is one more thing that we need to do, is that we have this M and F as symbols for the gender. So instead of that, let me just add the full values like male and female. So what can I do is I can go to transform option, make sure the column is selected. Here I have this replace values option. I can go to this replace values. Firstly, I have to add the value to find. So M is the value, and that I can just replace with male. If I click on OK, then you can see all the replacements have been done. Similarly, I can replace F with female. So as to make sure that the data is better understandable, and because symbols are not that important, right? So now the replacement have been made. Now let's work with merging the queries. Okay, so we have this, if we just go to this home tab again, we have this option of merge queries. We can just click on that. Now what you need to do is you need to select the table and the columns which you want to merge. Okay, so in the athlete events table, I want to merge this NOC column with which column? So I want to merge it with the country definitions NOC column. Now the kind of the join or the kind of the merge that you want, so let's just go with a full outer one. That means all the rows from both the tables would be taken because we don't want to leave any other row. Then you can click on OK, and after a few seconds you will see that the tables have been merged. Actually no change would be shown in the country definitions table. The change would be shown only in the athlete events table. Okay, so we need to wait for a few seconds because you know the data set is huge. It has got lakhs of rows in it. That is why Power Query editor needs a few seconds to process it. Okay, so now the merging has been completed and we have got a new column, that is the country definitions column in the athlete events table. Okay, now what is this composed of? It is composed of this table everywhere. But what is this? It's not understandable to us, right? If we just go to this table option, then what happens is we would be able to see the data inside of it, right? So this is not something that we can work with. So how do we proceed? So for this purpose, what we are going to do is actually go to this particular column. Here is this arrows option. If you click on it, so make sure the select all columns is checked. You can click on OK. Now once you do that, this column would be split into the corresponding columns, that is the NOC and the country name. So this is it. We don't want the NOC column, neither from this nor from the original table. So let's just delete both of them. Here it is. Control click and remove that. And this is the countries column that we have got, but it is now looking as country definitions dot country. So let's just change its value to country. That's it. And this is exactly what the data we wanted. This is the whole data that we have got. We have removed all the unnecessary data, we have removed the redundant data, and we have created a final data set for us on which we will work. Now what we can do is provide it a good name. So let's just provide it as Olympics final. The data cleaning process is now complete. Now what we are going to do is just close and apply this. So in the top left corner, you can see this is the button of close and apply. You can just click on that. Now what will happen is this whole data set would be downloaded into the Power BI desktop. The advantage is that the full data set that we just got with numerous columns with redundant data would not be downloaded. Only the instance that we created out of that data set using Power Query Editor would be downloaded. So this is taking few seconds to load. You have to wait for that. And once it has been loaded into the Power BI desktop, then we would be able to make visualizations out of it. So now it has been downloaded or loaded into Power BI desktop, and here you can see the Olympics final import that we have got. So you need to just work with this. So we would be starting to work on this particular data set from the next video onwards. That's all for this one. Thanks for watching.